Hi there, and welcome to High Level. We are super excited to have you as new members of our community. I came from the agency world. I ran operations for a seven-figure agency for about 7 years, and we were one of the early companies to find High Level and migrate our clients over. And I can't tell you the change that it made to our business. So I'm super excited for what this is going to do for you and your clients. So let's go ahead and get started. First, let's talk about the two biggest hurdles, Twilio and SMTP. We're not going to go into these on this call because we have help docs to get both of those set up. But I am just going to point out that when you created your account, we hooked you up to our SMTP Mailgun account. So you should be able to send tests out for today's call. I don't think the replies are going to work to those tests, and you definitely want to switch your own SMTP provider in as soon as possible because the one that you'll be using through us has been pretty burned when it comes to spam and all that kind of stuff. Second, when you created your account, we put about 100 Twilio credits in your account, and you should see a banner across the top of your account telling you how many you have left. If you're still using your Twilio credits, you should have no problem building SMS messages in the campaign that we're going to create and testing those out. If you've already hooked up your own Twilio credentials, you'll probably skip the SMS and just do email because you have to buy a Twilio account for the dummy location that we're going to create in order for you to test that stuff. You probably don't want to waste the dollar. I will point out really quickly, if you've already set up your Twilio credentials, you might need to do one thing. So just go to Settings, Twilio, and if you see any green buttons over here, you just need to hit those to connect that sub account to the sub account in your Twilio account. You only need to do that once if you created sub accounts before you set your Twilio credentials. That will reconnect them and you'll be good to go moving forward. If you decide you'd like somebody to set up your SMTP and Twilio credentials for you, you can always just go to gohighlevel.com/one-on-one and purchase an hour with one of our build team members for $97, and they'll be happy to walk you through it and get it set up for you so you can be off to the races. Okay, so let's talk about today's goal. What we're going to build is what I call a classic claim book funnel, right? So we want to offer something that someone has to claim by going through a form. We're going to use a nurture campaign to nurture them into booking an online appointment, right? So the example that we're going to use is a dentist who wants to run a free teeth whitening offer if you book a cleaning. So we're going to build a 3-page funnel, a claim page, a book page, and a thank you page. And we're going to build 2 triggers that fire things off along the way. We're going to accomplish this by going through this little checklist here. So I'll continually refer back to this as we go to keep us on track. So let's go ahead and get started with item number 1, launching a new sub account. So let's hop into our account and let's first take a minute to talk about the different levels of High Level. So you have 2. You have your agency account or your master level account, and then you have your sub accounts or client locations as you might hear them called. So here I'm in the master level account, but you can always tell if you're in a client account by looking for this icon at the top right that has the 2 arrows that point against each other like that. Clicking that icon will always take you back up to your master level account, which is where we want to be right now. So let's make sure that we're on the accounts tab here. And we're going to go over here to the add account button on the right hand side of the screen. Now this will load up our account snapshots or industry snapshots as we call them. So a snapshot is basically a packaged up sub account that already has things like pipelines, calendars, forms, funnels already inside, pre-built for you. So the idea is that you could take an industry snapshot, install it, and that you'd be 3/4 of the way to going live. If you hover over an industry snapshot tile, you'll see there's a blue No More button. And if you click on that, you'll get an overview video talking about what's in the snapshot, an example of Facebook ad to get you thinking about the types of ads you might want to run if you were going to use this snapshot, and then a setup guide, which is a more robust version of the checklist that we're going to go through today, which will walk you around the snapshot and tell you what you need to edit and what you need to turn on before you would actually use it in the wild. So we're not going to use any of these industry snapshots today, but notice at the top here you have your own snapshots. So once you build out your master sub account and you're like, this is perfect, every time I have another client just like this, I just want to clone this. Well, then you can turn that account into a snapshot and it will be available here in your own snapshots tab that you can use when you launch a new client. Again, we're not going to use any snapshots today, so we're just going to go ahead and click on the blank snapshot here. And now we're looking at a Google Maps API. So if we were onboarding a real client, you could just start typing in their business and it would pull up from Google My Business. So if I type in my favorite pizza place here they are, I could just click on that and it would grab all their details from Google My Business, paste them into the field so that I don't have to type that information myself. Now we're just going to use a dummy account today, so we're not going to use that. We're just going to come over here to this add account manually link, go ahead and click that. And here's where we need to enter in some dummy information. So we're going to, again, use the scenario of a dentist named Dr. Bob. So his first name is going to be Bob and his last name will be Dentist. You can enter anything you'd like or just follow along with me. So Bob Dentist, email is bob@dentist.com. His business name is Bob's Dentistry. And that's at 5 Dentist Street. We'll put that in Philadelphia, where I'm from, in the United States, PA, 18901, and the phone number you have to enter in a real area code or it knows that it's fake, but then you can do 555-5555. Okay, so once you have that set up, all that dummy information entered in, just scroll up to the top of the page, hit save, and then enter a 2 in the chat so that I know you're ready to move on. In the meantime, I'll go over here and cross off number 1 from our list. Okay, great. So we're going to click back to our accounts tab. And just a quick thing that usually hangs people up. When we go to jump into that dummy account that we just created, it's tempting to just click the name of it right here. But that just takes you back into its master settings. It doesn't actually take you into the account. To go into a sub account, we need to go to the top of the screen, select the switch to an account dropdown, and then choose it from the list. Okay, now we're in the sub account here, and let's check out what we're going to do next. Next, we're going to make our opportunity pipeline. So we're going to go left-hand side all the way down to settings, and we're going to look for the pipelines tab across the top of the screen. Go ahead and select pipelines, click create new pipeline at the right-hand side of the screen. And I always name everything after my promotion so that I can keep it all straight. So this is going to be a free teeth whitening pipeline. Notice that you can add as many stages as you'd like. You can drag and drop the order once you've created them. We're going to keep it really simple for today. We're just going to make a 2-stage pipeline with the following stages. New leads, and we're going to make a stage for appointment booked. Okay? So new leads, appointment booked. When you have those 2 stages in there, go ahead and hit save. And then just enter a 3 in the chat so I know that you're ready to move on. I'll hop over here, cross the pipeline off our list. And next we'll be ready to create our calendar. Okay, so before we create our calendar, let's take a look at where this pipeline lives. So your pipelines live in the left-hand column under the Opportunities tab. And here you should see the pipeline that you just created. Notice you could have more than one. You could toggle between them up here. And then you have a bunch of filtering options as well, including a date range over there. So let's hop back to settings, left-hand column all the way at the bottom. And now we're going to look for the calendars tab. Again, we're going to click the green add a calendar button on the right-hand side. And again, we're going to name this free teeth whitening. Okay, if you've ever used Calendly Schedule once, you should understand what most of these fields do. We're not going to mess with anything today, but I just want to talk quickly about this auto confirm appointment. So when you create a calendar, it creates a booking widget, and when someone goes through the booking widget, it creates an appointment, right? Now, every appointment can have a variety of different statuses. By default, it's action pending, but it could also have a status of confirmed, no-show, etc. So this toggle is saying, hey, do you want the appointment status to be confirmed by default? Some of your clients will say yes, others will say no, I want to manually confirm my appointments. And if that's the case, you'd turn this off, and then you'd probably add an extra stage in your pipeline for appointment requested, and then have appointment booked. So those would be 2 different stages in your pipeline, and you'd need to build a couple of extra triggers to make all that work. Today we're going to keep it really simple. We're going to pretend that Dr. Bob is okay with the appointments auto-confirming, so we're going to leave that on. Let's scroll all the way down to the bottom of the settings. Here you can see is where you set the availability for this calendar. You could link it to a Google Calendar. If we'd connected Dr. Bob's Google account, we could change it to two-way sync. But again, we're not going to mess with any of that. The one thing that we are going to turn on is sticky contacts. Sticky contacts are awesome because if you have it turned on in your form and in your calendar, when someone goes through a form and then into a calendar, it will automatically grab the details that they entered in the form, paste them into the calendar's form fields so that your user or the lead doesn't have to retype them. It's a great way to reduce friction and increase conversion. So I always recommend turning on sticky contacts and then just go ahead and hit save. And just give me a 4 in the chat once you have your calendar created and you're ready to move on. I'm going to go ahead and hop over here and cross this off our list. And before we move on, let's just check out where the calendars live. In the left-hand column under scheduling, you can see a calendar view of appointments. Filters at the top, you could switch between calendars. And then you've got the appointments view where you can view them in a list, which can be helpful if you want to sort them over here by their status, things like that. So let's see what we're building next. Claim form. So let's hop back into our account. Let's go left-hand column. We're going to go to marketing and then select the form builder. And then at the top right, we're going to click the green create new form button. And the first thing that we're going to want to do is give this form a name. So let's go to the third tab over, the options tab. And the first field is the name field. So let's again call this free teeth white. Here we can see that we can control what happens when someone submits the form. We're not going to set this here today because you can also set this in the landing page builder in the funnel. And that, if you set it there, will override whatever you set here. So we're just going to leave this blank for now, but we are going to come down here and turn on sticky contact. Again, it has to be turned on in the form and the calendar for it to work. Okay, so let's go one tab back to the styles tab. Here's where we get our stylistic options. We can change colors, radiuses, widths, etc. You can also enter in custom CSS if you know how to write custom CSS and make your forms look however you'd like. We're not going to mess with any of that, but we are going to turn off this agency branding toggle, and that just gets rid of that little image icon that was at the bottom of the form. People always ask, how do I get rid of that? And that's how you turn it off. So now let's go one tab back to the fields tab where we can see we've got all the standard form fields. And then there's also a custom fields tab where you can create as many custom fields as you like. They can be short text, long text, checkboxes, radial buttons, all sorts of options. But we're going to stick to the standard fields for today. So let's go ahead and drag in fields for first name, last name, email, and phone. Okay, first name, last name, email, phone. And then most importantly, we have to remember to scroll all the way down and grab the button field and drag that in, because if you don't add a button, no one will ever be able to fill out this form. Once you have your button dragged in, click it. You'll get the button settings on the right-hand side where we can update the text to be something a little better. So let's put claim your free teeth whitening. And then notice when you click out of a field, it automatically saves, so you don't have to worry about saving every time you make an update to a form field. Now, I do want to show you something cool at the bottom here. If you click the integrate form button, you're going to get two handy options. First is an embed script. So let's say you wanted this form to live somewhere else, like a WordPress page. You could just take the script, paste it in the code side of the WordPress editor, and that would populate there. You also get a direct link, which can be handy. So if I take this and open it in a new tab, it's going to open the form, and I can send traffic right here to this link, and the form would work. So that can come in handy in situations, especially if we go back to our form builder and we notice that there are fields for text, HTML, and images. So you can put that kind of stuff above or below your form fields and almost build a little mini landing page right here and send traffic directly to it. We're not going to do that though. This is all we're going to do for our form. So you can go ahead and just give me a 5 in the chat once you've got your form set up with these 4 fields and your button. I'm going to head back and cross that off our list. And we'll be ready to move on to the next step. Okay, next we're going to build some funnel pages. So we're going to go left-hand column. We're going to go down to funnels and websites, select funnels. At the top right, click the green add a new funnel button, and let's give it a name of free teeth whitening. Hit create. And now we're looking at our funnel overview. Notice across the top, you've got a tab for settings. Here's where you would go to do all your domain setup. You can embed scripts here if you want to. We're not going to mess with any of that. We're just going to stay on the steps tab, and we're going to hit add a new step. So when we say new step, we mean a new page in the funnel. And our first page is going to be called claim. Its path will be /claim. And then notice here we've got an import from ClickFunnels field. So if you've been building pages in ClickFunnels, you can just grab the URL, paste it here, hit create. It'll rebuild the page in high level in a couple of seconds. So that's really handy if you're migrating off of ClickFunnels. So let's go ahead and just click create funnel step. That will create the page. And now we're going to do that 2 more times. So let's add another step. This one's going to be called book. And the path will be /book. Hit create. And then we'll do that again for a page called thank you with a path of /thank-you. Go ahead and hit create. Give me a 6 in the chat once you've got those 3 pages created, and then we'll get started building. All right, so with our claim page selected, we're going to hit this yellow edit page button. And now, before you build anything, I'd like you to just sit back and relax for a minute and watch me build a header. I'm going to build it pretty quickly, but I'll point out a couple of important things along the way, and I don't want you to get tripped up and then be lost for the rest of the presentation. So sit back, I'll build the header, and then we'll pick up together and build the body. All right, so it always starts with a section. So you need a section, and then you need a row with columns, and then elements. So I have a full width section here. I'm going to add a row with 1 column. I'm going to add an element with an image. So this would be like a logo. I'm not going to replace that, but if I wanted to, I would scroll down here to the image field. I would click here where I could upload a new image. I will reduce the width of it though, down to something more reasonable for a logo. That looks good. But notice my header is still pretty tall for a header. So I'm going to select the width, or sorry, select the section, which means green. And then I'm going to drag the padding of the top and the bottom down to reduce the height. That looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to give this a background color to illustrate this next point. So right now we're looking at the desktop builder. It's showing us what this page would look like on a desktop or a laptop. If we want to see what it would look like on a phone, we come up here to the top left and click the phone tab. Now this header looks pretty great on both sides, right? It looks fine. But a lot of times you'll build a section and it won't look good on the mobile side of things. So the way that we combat that is by creating independent versions of the section. So the easiest way to do that is with your section selected and you hover over it. On the right hand side you'll get this little green box, and the middle icon is a clone icon. If you hit that, it clones the section. Now I'm going to change the background color of this one just to illustrate this next point. So I've got 2 headings here, 2 headers, right? So if I select my top header, notice on the left-hand side in the settings, there are actually 2 tabs, General Settings and Advanced. If I click Advanced, I can now see the visibility of this section. So by default, everything's visible on both desktop and mobile, right? But if I turn off mobile, I'll see this tab pop up indicating that that section is now only visible on desktops. If I select the second header and I do the opposite, it disappears because now it's only visible on mobile. So if I toggle the mobile view, I'll see the other version of the header, right? So this enables you to build 2 completely different versions of the same thing, which means you can build mobile specific designs on your pages, which I highly encourage you to do because it always increases the user experience and conversion rates. So that's how you do it. The second thing I'm going to show you about building things like headers is if you select the section, and then on the right-hand side, or sorry, the left-hand side, in this green box, the last icon is a little floppy disk. If you click that, you can then give it a name. So I would call this header. I would hit save. And now I can reuse that header on other pages of my funnel. I won't have to rebuild it, which will save me a lot of time when it comes to building things like headers and footers, right? Okay, so I'm going to click back to the general settings tab, and now this is where you can pick back up with me. So let's go to the top here and let's click section, add a section. Let's drag in a full width. Again, we're going to add a column with a row with one column, and then we're going to add an element which is going to be a heading. So this is going to say claim a free teeth whitening. And then we're going to add a subheading. And the easiest way to add another element is to just hover over the last element, look for the orange plus button, click that. It'll bring the elements pane back out where we can select subheadline. This is going to say enter your details below to claim. Okay, we've got a setting, a heading, a subheading set up. With my subheading selected, I'm just going to scroll down and give that a little margin on the top so it has a little more room. Then I'm going to hover over the subheading again and click the orange plus button. And now we're going to add our form. So come over here to the elements panel and we're going to select form. You're going to get this modal here and it's going to ask you which form. So just click the drop down and select the free teeth whitening form that we created. So boom, there's our form on the page. With our form selected, we're going to go left-hand column down to the bottom. We're going to give it a little margin on the top. And then we have to go to this button actions. So here's where we set what happens when someone fills this out. So we're going to select go to next step. So that means anybody who submits this form is going to be redirected to the next step or page in our funnel. So once you have the form on the page and you've set your button action to go to next step, let's go to the top right and click the save button. You'll see a little SEO metadata panel slide out. We're just going to disregard that for now because we don't need that for our test. All right, so let's go top left to the back button. Let's select our booking page. And again, we're going to hit the yellow edit page button. So because I saved that header, I can now go all the way over to the right to my layouts and I could drag it back in and then boom, I don't have to rebuild my header, which is great. So let's start with a body. We're going to go up to the top section, add a section, and we're going to drag in full width. Again, we're going to add a row with one column. And again, we're going to add a heading in the subheading. So let's grab a heading. This one's going to say, thanks for claiming. And then again, we're going to click the orange plus button to add a subheading. And this one's going to say, the next step is to book a cleaning below. Okay. With your subheading selected, we're going to go left column down to the bottom, add a little margin on the top again. And then we're going to come back, hover over our subheading, hit the orange plus button again. And now we need to add our booking widget. So to do that, we're going to scroll down and we're going to select calendar. Again, you're going to get the modal that asks you to pick a calendar. So go ahead and hit the drop down and choose free teeth whitening. Boom, there's our booking widget right on the page. So with our booking widget selected, we're going to go left-hand column, scroll down, again, give it a little margin on the top, and then again, change the redirect action to be go to next step. Once you have your redirect action set to go to next step, just go to the top right, hit save, and give me a 7 in the chat so that I know you're ready to move on. Okay, great. Let's go top left, hit back. Let's quickly knock out our thank you page. So select thank you, hop in. Again, I'm going to drag in my header, but you're just going to drag in a full width section. And this page, we're just going to do a header subheading again. So add a row, one column, element, headline. This is going to say thanks for booking. And then the subheading is just going to say, we'll follow up shortly. Okay, great. I'm just going to give a little margin on that and we're good to go. So I'm going to go top right, hit save. Give me an 8 in the chat once you've saved that and we will be ready to move on. I'm going to cop back over here to our list and cross that one off. All right, next up, we're going to create a nurture campaign. So let's hop back into our account. Let's click our back arrow. And then in the left-hand column, we're going to go up to the marketing tab. Open that up and we're going to choose campaigns. Go ahead at the top right, click the green add a new campaign or create new campaign button. And let's call this one free whitening dash claim nurture. So we're going to use this to nurture people who claim our offer via the form into booking an online appointment. So let's hit save. And now what is a campaign? A campaign is basically a series of actions that we want to happen automatically. Each campaign has its campaign configuration drop-down tab at the top. So let's click into that and quickly talk about what each of these options are. A window can be very helpful because it basically says, okay, I want to build a window so that if it's 3 in the morning or something, people aren't going to be getting added to this automation and be getting text messages or calls at 3 in the morning. So you can build your window right here, and then you have two options, if and when. If basically says, okay, when a lead goes to get added to this campaign, if we're within the window, add them in. If we're not, don't, and never add them. So that's probably not what you're going to want to do. You're probably going to want to use when. So this says, okay, when we're within the window, add them, and if we're not, wait until when we're in the next window. So if you're using when, and a lead came in at 6 p.m. on Monday, it would wait until 8 a.m. on Tuesday and then add the lead in. We're not going to use a window for our test today though, so I'm going to toggle that off. Users. You're going to create users for your clients and their staff. And if you assign a user to a campaign, then all the leads that go into this campaign will be assigned to that user. You can add more than one user, and if you do, the leads will be round robined between them automatically. Next campaign is asking you, okay, if somebody goes all the way through this campaign and they don't reply to anything and they don't book an appointment, do you want to send them into another campaign after this? So this is a nice way to create waterfall campaigns. The from address and from name we need to fill out. So this is asking, okay, the emails that go out of this campaign, from what email and from what name should they go? So for us, this is going to be bob@dentist.com. And the from name is going to be Dr. Bob. The value of the lead, if Dr. Bob tells you, hey, every time I get a new cleaning appointment over the lifetime of that patient, they're worth $3,000 to me. If you enter that in, that value will carry across the pipeline. Tags are pretty self-explanatory. Allow multiple means, can the same lead go through this campaign more than once? I recommend leaving this on, especially while you're building, so that when you go to test it more than once, you're not locked out. Stop on response means if somebody replies to anything that comes out of this campaign, or if they make an appointment, do you want them to get the rest of the events that are set up? Probably not, right? Because you're probably not going to want to continually to remind someone to book, to, hey, the next step is to book, don't forget to book, if they've already booked. So you're probably going to want to leave stop on response turned on. Event start date we'll talk about in just a second, so we're going to hit save. Okay, let's add our first event. So let's click add an event, and the first one you're probably going to want to add is the call step. The call step enables you to do something like this. Hi, Dr. Bob. You have a new free whitening lead from, and then I can come over here to this tag and I can grab the source of this lead from, and then I can grab the contact's name. And then I can say press any key to connect with them. So what happens? The lead hits this step in the campaign. High level calls Dr. Bob's office. When they answer, a robot says, hi, Dr. Bob, you have a new free whitening lead from Facebook from Chase Buckner. Press any key to connect with them. If Dr. Bob or his staff pushes a key on the phone, it then dials out to the lead, and if the lead answers, we bridge the call. So this is a really powerful way to force your clients to call leads right away as they come in. Notice you could add a custom window for just this step if you wanted to, but again, we're not going to mess with that, so we're just going to hit save. Now let's talk about the timing over here. By default, it's after 0 minutes, which means right away. But there's also immediately. The difference is that immediately will disregard a window if you set one here in the campaign configuration settings. So be careful with immediately, because it doesn't care if there's a window set, it's going to go out immediately. So it's always safer to use after 0 minutes. Okay, so let's add another event. This one's going to be an email. And this will say something like free whitening next steps. And then here you'd say something like, thanks for claiming our free whitening offer. And then you'd probably throw in their name, their first name. The next step is to book a cleaning. And then I would do by clicking here. What I would do after I'd set up the domain of my funnel, I would go to the second page, grab the URL for the booking page, right? And I would come back and link this up. Because again, I want to drive as many leads through the online booking process as I can so that I don't have to involve Dr. Bob or his staff. I'm going to copy this because I'm going to use the same message in a text. But notice you could set a window for just this email. You could attach a file and you can test it for yourself down here. So I'm just going to hit save. And now let's talk about some timing over here. So let's say I set this one to be after 2 minutes. With after timing, it's important to remember that after timing is always relative to the event above it. So this email will go out 2 minutes after this call was made, not 2 minutes after they entered the campaign. So there's a difference there, right? After timing is always relative to the event above it. But what about before timing? Before timing lets you build appointment reminder campaigns. So let's say a lead enters a campaign and it's carrying a pending appointment for some time in the future. The campaign can see that, the day and time of that pending appointment, and then you can build before timing that's relative to that day and time. So if I had this set up and someone came in carrying an appointment, this would go out 2, let's say, days before the day and time of their appointment. And then I could add, a text 1 day before, maybe a text 2 hours before. Whatever you want to build, you can use the before timing if the lead's going to come in carrying an appointment. The other way you can use before timing is if we go back to the campaign config, this event start date field. If let's say Dr. Bob was like, hey, I want to run a webinar next Friday at 2 p.m. Well, I could select next Friday at 2 p.m. and then I could use the before timing and it would be relative to next Friday at 2 p.m. So again, I could build things to go out days, hours, or minutes before next Friday at 2 p.m. So those are the two places that you're going to use the before timing. I'm going to change this back to after, and I'm just going to make that after 0 minutes again. Okay. Next, let's add an SMS. So this is just a text message. I would probably say the same thing. Again, I could add a custom window, I could attach a file, and I could test it over here. I'm just going to hit save. Next, let's add a Facebook Messenger. I'll paste the same message. If I had connected Dr. Bob's Facebook page and this lead had previously messaged the page, right? Facebook has rules. The person has to have previously initiated a conversation with the page, but once they do, you can then push back Facebook messages. Again, you could set a custom window. We're just going to go ahead and hit save. Next up, I would do probably a voicemail. Voicemail drops are awesome. Basically, you upload an MP3. I would record it on behalf of your clients so you don't have to wait for them to do it. But once you have it here and the lead hits this step, their phone's going to buzz. It's going to say, hey, you have a new voicemail. If their phone didn't ring, they just magically have this voicemail. So it's a great way to reach out to them and let them know what you want them to do next. So let's just hit save on that. And let's check out what else we have here. A wait step is just that. It just waits for a certain amount of time. Manual call and manual SMS are like power dialers. So if you're working with a sales team, if you add one of these, when the lead hits the step, it gets added to what we call the manual actions area. And then somebody would sign in, they would toggle it to themselves, and they would just hit play and it would just start calling. Or with the manual SMS, they could go over to that and then just start hitting send, 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 send. So those are the manual steps. Add a task simply just creates a task when it hits that step. And a webhook is nice if you need to get data out of high level. Use the webhook and that will send it out to wherever you're catching the hook. So let's say Zapier, and then from there you can do whatever you'd like with it. Okay, so I'm not going to add any of those. I'm just going to come up to the top, and you have to remember to change this from draft to published, or nothing will ever happen. So once you've published your campaign, just go ahead and give me an 8 in the chat so that I know that we're ready to move on. And I'll come over here and cross this off our list. All right, next up, we're going to build some triggers. So let's hop back into our account. Let's go left-hand column down to triggers. And at the top right, we're going to click new basic rule. Let's name this one trigger number 1. And now let's talk about, okay, what is a trigger? Triggers are basically our internal version of Zapier. If you've ever built a Zap, you know that they have two parts. They have the condition side, and then they have some actions. So what is our condition? If we go back to our little mind map here, we can see that our first condition is when somebody claims our offer via the form that we created. So we're going to go over here on the left-hand side, and we're going to choose a trigger of form submitted. Now, if I left it like this would fire anytime any form in this sub account is submitted. Odds are I'm going to build more than one form for Dr. Bob in the future, so I need to be a little more specific. I'm going to add a filter, and we're going to choose form is, and then we're going to select our free teeth whitening form. Okay, so now we've specified that only when that specific form gets filled out do we want to trigger some actions. So what are the actions that we want to trigger? Well, for trigger number 1, it's 3. We want to send Dr. Bob a notification, we want to add the lead to our pipeline, and we want to add the lead to that nurture campaign that we created. So let's hop over here and let's first do the pipeline one. So let's click add an action, and we're going to choose add update opportunity. Okay, this is going to ask us which pipeline, so let's click that and choose our free teeth whitening pipeline. And then it's going to say, okay, in which stage? So we're going to choose the new lead stage. I'm not going to fill out any of these, but these would also show up on the opportunity tile if you wanted to enter in any of that information. Next, let's build our notification to Dr. Bob. So let's click add an action. And I'm going to scroll down to send an email. You could do send an SMS if you're using the Twilio credits. But our from name is going to be contact@myagency.com because I want to take credit for these leads, right? So you would use your email, your agency's email. And then this to email would be Dr. Bob. But in this case, we want to test it ourselves. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter in my own email, and you can enter your email in there as well. The subject would be something like new lead, and then the body would be like, hi, Dr. Bob. We generated you a new lead from, and then I'd probably throw in their name. I'd also probably put something like, our automation is working to convert this into an appointment. We'll let you know when that happens, or whatever you want to add. So the third thing that we need to do is add this lead to the nurture campaign that we set up. So let's click add an action, and we're going to select add to campaign. From the select campaign dropdown, we're going to choose the claim nurture that we created. So we've got 3 actions: add to a campaign, notify Dr. Bob, and add them to the pipeline. Once you've got those 3 actions, go up to the top right, hit save, change it from draft to activate, and give me a 9 in the chat so that I know you're ready to move on to trigger number 2. All right, let's go ahead and hit the back arrow twice. You have to hit it twice. I'm not quite sure why. And then at the top right, we're going to click New Basic Rule. And we're going to name this one trigger number 2. So what's our condition for this trigger? If we go back to our mind map, we can see it's when somebody books an appointment via the booking widget for the calendar that we created. So let's go left-hand column. It's tempting to click the second one, which is called appointment. But this one can trigger multiple times whenever the status of an appointment changes. So we're not going to use that one. We're actually going to scroll down to customer booked appointment. This one will only fire once when the customer makes the booking for the first time in the widget. Again, if I left it like this would fire anytime any booking is made within the sub account. So let's be more specific and add a filter. And we'll choose in calendar and then choose the free teeth whitening calendar. What are the actions that we want to do? Well, we want to again notify Dr. Bob, and then we want to move the lead in the pipeline. So again, let's go add action and let's scroll down to send email. Again, this is going to be contact@myagency.com. And again, this would go to Dr. Bob, but we're going to test it ourselves. So let's put our own email in there. Subject would be something like new booking. And then I'd say, hi, Dr. Bob, we generated a new free whitening cleaning from, grab their name, on, and then I'd grab the appointment, start date, time. And then I'd probably put some instructions in here for Dr. Bob that would be like, please log in. I would link that to my white label login that you're going to set up in your agency settings. Go over to scheduling and click appointments where you can review this appointment, whatever you want to tell Dr. Bob to do. We're going to scroll down, hit add action. And this time, again, we're going to choose the add/update opportunity. We're going to select the same pipeline because we're just overwriting this opportunity in a different stage. And then we're going to select the stage of appointment booked. That's all we need to do. So we've got add update opportunity, free teeth whitening pipeline, appointment booked stage, and we've got our email to Dr. Bob. Just scroll up to the top right, hit save. And again, remember to take it out of draft into activate, and then give me a 10 in the chat when you're ready to move on. I'm going to hop back, cross that off our list, and we will be ready to run a test. All right, so let's go test our creation. Let's hop back into high level. Let's go left-hand column down to funnels and websites, select funnels, and click into our free teeth whitening funnel. With our claim page selected, we're going to go next to our edit page button and look for the icon. It's a little square with a little arrow pointing out of the corner. Let's go ahead and click that. That's going to open up our landing page. So let's imagine we were on Facebook or Instagram. Scrolling down, we saw an ad for free teeth whitening if you book a cleaning. We thought to ourselves, well, it's been quite a while since I've been to the dentist. This sounds like a good offer. Might as well take advantage of it. You clicked through, and now you're at the landing page where we're going to claim this offer. So go ahead and enter in your details. And I'll put in a phone number. And then just go ahead and click the claim button. And if you set your redirect correctly, this should redirect you over to the booking page. Boom. All right. So before we follow the instructions here, let's go check up on our trigger that was supposed to do a couple of things. So first we said we wanted to add us to the pipeline, right? So let's go up to opportunities. And we should see ourselves sitting there. There I am in the new lead stage of the pipeline. Fantastic. It was also supposed to send Dr. Bob a notification, right? So if I go over to my email, there's our notification to Dr. Bob. Hi, we generated a new lead from Chase Buckner. Fantastic. It was also supposed to add me to the nurture campaign, right? So let's go marketing campaigns. Here we can see the campaign and we can see that there's one person in it. If I click that number 1, it's going to show me who's in there, and it'll show me how far along the campaign that they are. Now, all of my steps were after 0 minutes, so it all happened really quickly. So that email that I had in there has already gone out to myself, and here it is. So it's from Dr. Bob, right? Thanks for claiming. The next step is to book by clicking here. Cool. So now what if I reply? Let's say I say, awesome. Where are you located? Hit send on that. Give that a second to go out. Okay, so if I come up here to our conversations tab, boom, there I am as an unread conversation because I replied to that email, right? So if we come over here to the conversation stream, we can see everything that's gone out or come back so far, right? So an email went out. Here's the call that it tried to make to Dr. Bob's office. That would have been recorded if it happened, and the recording would be here in the stream. Here's the text message that went out. And then here's the email that went out and my reply. So Dr. Bob or his staff could just come in here, hit reply, and shoot an email back. Or they could click the SMS tab and shoot me a text message back. If I had the Facebook page connected, there'd be a Facebook message tab here. You could click that, message me back on Facebook. If he comes over here where he's got my contact information, he could click the phone icon and that would call me through High Level. The call would be recorded. The recording would go into the stream. We're going to continually add more streams, right? So like when WhatsApp opens their API, there'll be a WhatsApp tab here and you could send a WhatsApp message back. Dr. Bob could manually schedule me over here at the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So you can see we're taking conversation channels that used to be a mess to try to manage, and we pulled them all into one place. It's incredibly effective and it's incredibly addictive for your clients. They're really going to fall in love with being able to send text messages, call people, listen to the calls, all from one place. And it's a great tool for you to be able to come in here and actually see if they're following up the way that you're going to teach them to do it, right? You're going to have insight to be able to hold them accountable for what they say that they're going to do. Okay, so now let's follow the instructions. Let's head back to our booking page and let's select a date and time in the future here. Boom, our sticky contacts did its job. It took the information from the form, pasted it in so I didn't have to retype that, right? That's fantastic. So let's go ahead and click book. Our redirect is going to take us to our thank you page, and our trigger number 2 is going to fire. And let's go see what trigger number 2 did. So if we click the opportunities tab, we should see that we've been moved over to the appointment book stage. Trigger number 2 is also going to fire off the notification to Dr. Bob again. And then he's going to get those instructions to log in and go over to scheduling appointments, where he'll see the appointment with the status as per the settings in the calendar, right? By default, we chose that it would be confirmed or it might be action pending. So trigger number 2 did its job, and that basically concludes our tour, right? So in about an hour, we built a full funnel. Obviously, you need to set up the domain on your funnel and probably make those pages look a little prettier. But in 1 hour, we came pretty darn close to building a full funnel that we could actually use for a dentist client. So I hope now the gears are turning. You're seeing the power of what you used to have to use 6 different apps tied together through Zapier to accomplish. You did it all in an hour under one roof. So where do we go from here? Well, we've got a couple of options for you. First is help.gohighlevel.com, where we keep all of our help docs. They all have videos in them. So whenever you're trying to figure something out, make that your first stop. You can also access it by jumping back to your agency level account and going over to the left-hand column and clicking help. Once you're there, you can click onto the solutions tab, and then you can search all the help docs right from there. Number 2, this question mark at the top of your account opens up live chat with our support team. Every month we're hiring more support staff. We're constantly working to bring our response time down. Right now it's about around an hour. So if it's not life or death, go ahead and open up a live chat. You'll get an answer back within an hour. Next, support@gohighlevel.com. If you know you need to open a ticket, just go ahead and email support@gohighlevel.com. Ticket will be created, support will follow up. Then there's the Facebook community. So if you search high-level-official community in Facebook, I highly suggest that you request to join. It's a fantastic community. It's where we share all of our updates, new videos, new announcements. We do basically every day of the week, we do some sort of live event, whether it's training, interviews, things like that. Highly suggest you join the community. Now, maybe you decide, I don't want to spend the time figuring this out. I want someone to help me. You can go to gohighlevel.com/one-on-one, and that enables you to buy 1 hour with me or someone from our build team, where we'll sit down, knock out your Twilio setup, your SMTP setup, or whatever else it is that you want to work on. There's also the marketplace. So in your agency level account, if you go to the left-hand side of the screen and click marketplace, you can access all of our white label services. The first one is an agency jumpstart. It's a one-time fee of $1,000, but it gets you 5 sessions with our build team. And the goal of that is to have your master snapshot completely finished by the end, so that you're ready to just start rolling it out every time you get a new client. There's also funnel builds for $99. If you don't want to build your own funnels, we can build them for you. And then there's lots of other services in here, like Google and Bing ads or Facebook ads. So let's say you want to offer AdWords, but you don't know how to run them, or you don't want to run them. You could basically charge your clients $1,000 a month, and we'll charge you $500 a month. You handle the front end, we'll handle the back end. There's lots of different stuff like that in here. Here's the cool one, Listings Manager. This is Yext. If you've ever used Yext, it's great for local SEO. Citation Builder builds about 80 something backlinks. And if you've ever worked with Yext directly, you know it's about $100 per account, unless you have a lot of accounts. Well, by going through High Level, you access our group rate, which is $30. We pass that straight to you. So you pay $30, you charge your clients $100 a month. It's a real no-brainer sale. The last thing that I'm going to point out down here is our white labeled app. So High Level has an app in the App Store. You can download it right now. You can sign into your agency account. You can toggle into your sub accounts and check out how it works, right? The white label app enables you, for an additional $4.97 a month, to have our app under your logo in the App Store. So you can then tell your clients to download your app to manage their leads, converse with their leads and customers, manage their pipelines, etc., all from their phone. So it's pretty awesome. I highly suggest that you check that out. And that basically concludes our tour, but I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and we can jump into Q&A.